Hello everybody, 6-Speed Dakota here, and today we're going to be replacing spark plugs on my 2006 Dodge Dakota. So, I have a video called How to Replace Your Spark Plug. Somebody had requested how to do that job, and I kind of went over a brief tutorial of how to do the job. But since I'm going to want to replace my spark plugs, I probably don't need to just yet, but I'm getting new tires put on tomorrow, and you know, I may as well. I mean, the spark plugs are just about as old. So, may as well just replace them. So, stuff you're going to need. Obviously, you're going to need, in this case, for this motor's a 4.7, you're going to need 8 new spark plugs. 3.7 is almost identical, just 2 less cylinders. You're going to want anti-seize, and you're going to want some dielectric grease of some sort. And for tools, really all you need is a simple screwdriver for your air intake, a 10mm socket for your coil bolts, and your spark plug socket, and I can't remember what size it was on this one, to take the spark plugs out. Now, well, I guess without further delay, let's get going. Alright, so before we begin, you're going to need your 10mm socket, and this is for removing the coil tower, or the coil pack, sorry, and a 5/8 spark plug socket. So let's get started. Now, do this job when the motor is stone dead cold. If you can, of course. But don't ever do it with the motor hot, or you're going to run into problems. Because the spark plugs can actually lock themselves in there, and actually the spark plug hole can actually elongate if the motor is too warm. So first thing I'm going to do, now this is different on other vehicles because obviously I have an aftermarket air intake. So for my K&N, the first thing I do is unplug the air intake temperature sensor. Then I'm going to remove the clamp that holds my air intake onto the throttle body. Now this is not entirely necessary, but it makes this job a whole lot easier. We're going to loosen this clamp off too. Slide it back, pop it out of the way. In the back we're going to pop off the breather tube. And this whole assembly should just come right off. Alright. Now another thing I find that makes it simpler is you have to, or you don't have to, but you really should, because working around is a pain, remove the heater hoses from their little clamps. Just like that. These guys pop out. And we'll move away just enough for you to get down in there. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to take our 10mm socket. I'm going to start on the driver's side bank, and then I'm going to work my way over to the passenger side. So we're going to remove down, only do one at a time. Unplug the coil pack. Or the ignition coil. It's a little tight in there. Oh, I hope I didn't just pull that terminal out. Oh no, I'm good. No, I think I'm good. There, I accidentally popped the boot out, but that's not a big deal. Okay, so now we're going to take our spark plug socket, feed it all the way down in there. Now one thing you got to be careful of, don't let any junk fall in the cylinders, because obviously that's not good for the motor. Sounds like we got some company. Right, so now that we got the spark plug undone, this thing actually doesn't look too bad. This looks like it's got a little bit of rust or something on it. Ah, whatever. Not a big deal. So, toss this guy aside. So we're going to take our new spark plug. We're going to put Not going to get overzealous with the anti-seize. Obviously don't get any on the tip of the plug. So that's just about perfect. Now notice we have a crush washer here. Now with a crush washer, gently feed that down there. I don't like dropping spark plugs down into their tubes. With a crush washer, we're going to thread it in by hand until it bottoms out. I'm just doing this to speed it up. But once we feel it bottom out, we're going to take our wrench and put it at our 12 o'clock position. We're going to turn it 1/3, 2/3 of a turn. That's perfect. With a crush washer style plug, you want to turn it 2/3 of a turn. With a taper style plug, typically GMs use a taper style plug, you only take it and you turn it a 1/16 of a turn, you're done. All you have to do is just give it a little snug and you're good. So, now what we're going to do, clean our spark plug boot off, alright. We're going to put a dab of our silicone grease in there. Now don't ever use any kind of grease other than a silicone grease, because a petroleum grease will adversely react with the rubber and cause it to swell. Now these are actually sealed, these little coil packs. So there's an O-ring right there. So what we're going to do is we're just going to put a little dab of that same silicone grease around, or dielectric silicone, around that O-ring so it slides in a little nicer. Now we want the coil ear, or the mounting ear on the coil, to sit right on the stud. It slides in real nicely now. We're going to plug our coil pack back in. Now I'm really only just walking through the first one, and then I'll do the other 7 in real time here, but just to kind of get a little acquainted with it, but you'll see me do the rest of them. And that's one plug changed. And you kind of have to be a little patient with this one. This one's a little bit more difficult. But really in this motor it's actually not that hard to change the plugs. So now don't drop the nut down in there. There it is. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take this mounting ear off. This is not near as bad as changing the plugs on a modular Ford, mind you, but it helps that this intake is quite a bit lower than one of those ones. There's the nut right there. We can just move this bracket out of the way. Now this bracket, the only reason why they left it on for the K&N kit is because it obviously supports the heater hoses. But all it is just a 10 mil. Of course, same procedure. Unplug. There's our ignition coil. Now be careful with your back, because this motor's pretty sunk in here, and I'm only 5'9", so having to reach all the way back is a little bit of a pain for me, and that could hurt my back if I'm leaning too far over. So there's our next one. It doesn't look that bad. Take our new plug, stick it in the socket. A little bit of anti-seize on it. You know, again, we don't really want crap to fall down in here. I try to keep my engine fairly clean. But just don't scrub anything or blow anything into the hole while it doesn't have a spark plug in it, obviously. You can just kind of feel when the plug starts to get snug, that's when you want to stop. Okay, so we're going to take the coil, put a dab of dielectric in it, and we're going to lube this seal here. Pop the coil back on. Back in. Oh, this weather pack seal, or the weather pack connector started to come undone there. Just be careful of that. Obviously we don't want to hurt the that weather pack connector. Okay, so we're going to do the third one on the driver's side. Let's unplug this guy first. Try not to lean in against the alternator. Keep in mind, this thing goes through a lot of heat cycles. There we go. So be patient with it. Things aren't going to come apart so easily when they've been heated and cooled on many, many occasions. There we go. So again, pull up on the coil. This motor is probably one of the easiest modern engines I've ever changed spark plugs on. It's nice that Dodge put them all along the top. Ford does it too, but their intake manifolds are so damn tall and everything's in the way of them that changing the plugs is a 3.5 hour job instead of a 20-minute job. Not to rag on Ford or anything, but I'm going to rag on Ford. Sorry, Ford fans. Oh, that was bad. I'm hoping this will solve the fact that it's eating gas all the time, but probably because I'm driving the damn thing too hard. Slides in real nicely when you put that grease on it. Slide it down. Now you don't reef these bolts on here. These coil packs are made of plastic. yank it, pop the coil out again. Where did I put my ratchet? Ah, there it is. Ow. Oh, this one's a little tight skis. Just gonna be gentle with it. Now remember with this motor, this is an iron block but aluminum heads. So again, don't be overzealous with these, because you don't want to strip that aluminum out and have to re-thread it, especially because I got to work in the morning. That would be kind of disastrous. Okay, so that's the 4 cylinders on the driver's side done. So let's move on to the passenger side. First thing we got to do, like the driver's side, so you notice that the driver's side cylinder is forward, more forward than the one on the passenger side, which means that this cylinder here is cylinder number 1. The one that's furthest forward is always cylinder number 1. So let's remove this little bracket, because this is in the way. There we go. Right up on the cowl. And put in our, oh, it's pretty loose actually. These just hold the coils down, so they don't have to be really, really tight. Go. Oh, that one's a little sticky in there. This one looks like it's got a little corrosion on it. No big deal. We'll replace them anyway. Now I'm using platinum spark plugs because I find that the platinum ones last a lot longer. If you got copper tip plugs from the factory, there's a lot of debate whether upgrading to a platinum plug will adversely affect the way the vehicle runs. I had copper tip ones in here originally, and I put platinums in and have been satisfied with them ever since. So, and they lasted a really long time. They really actually don't look too bad. It has been about 45,000 miles since I've changed them, so I figured go ahead and replace them. Plus, my truck's eating a lot more gas than it usually does, but that's probably because I'm driving it around a lot more. Plus, I'm running it on premium gas and the performance tune and all that good stuff, so that would probably explain why. That would probably be my explanation on why this thing's tune up gas. Oh, stupid thing. Oh no. Looks like my plug socket's stuck in there. Alright, I got my socket out. I just used a pair of long nose pliers. That happens occasionally, it just tends to get stuck in there. One thing you could do is put a little bit of this dielectric grease on the rubber. There's a little chunk of rubber in here, typically. Way on down in there. So that you don't break the porcelain on the plug by accident. By putting it in. Oops, missed it. All the way down. There we go. You can definitely tell that these plugs have seen some life, and also this boot here on this coil's a little torn. I'm a little concerned about that. I've only ever changed this is the second time I've ever changed the plugs in this truck, and I've owned it for 5 years this November. When I first got it, I kind of did everything on it. Plugs, all the fluids. Ow! Oh man, I must have bruised my finger somehow. That really, really hurts. go, that one came out nicely. Now for the last two. The last one's a little trickier to get at, but not by much. All you have to do is use a little shorter extension. We should be all good. This one's got a bit of a torn boot on it too. When I say torn boot, I mean this little guy right there. This actually doesn't have a flexible boot on it, like the Ford coils do. But these coils don't seem to have problems like the Ford ones do. The Ford ones have a tendency to die, leaving you with a misfire. It's a very common problem on those. But I haven't seen too much trouble or heard of too much trouble with these ones. Could maybe get performance ones, I don't know. But this thing seems to be running A-OK, so just stick with the stockers. Plus this motor's not near as popular as say the, ow, really hurt. It's like say the Hemi. So performance parts are a little harder to come by on this motor. A little bit anti-seize. Go. Now we're going to take our shorter extension, and it will actually fit just. There we go. I don't know if we're going to need to unplug the this connector here. I'm not quite sure what that one is. I don't know. I don't think it's crank position, but I may or may not be wrong. So now this little mounting plate here for this plug comes off. It's a sensor of some sort, so be careful with it. This one's got a boot intact. We're all good. Not sure if I'm going to fit the short extension down in there, but see if I can fit the long one. It's kind of at an awkward angle, but I sort of can. I don't even know where it is. Ah, crap. I did this one the last time. What we'll do is we'll use a good old wobble extension. We'll just double them up. There we go. And we are almost off. Remember, the back two cylinders usually are the ones that get the hottest. So these will always stay the warmest, typically. Come on, turn. With the ICs on there, it's still a little tight. There's our last one. It's got some kind of white chalky corrosion on it, but that's obviously not the right one. Try and guide it into the... I definitely missed it. Feels like there's something blocking it. Oh, there it is, right there. We'll just use the wobble to tighten it up. But if this is the worst one you gotta get, then you're pretty much in... you're laughing. Oops. So first the coil sits down on top, and then this little bracket that holds this connector goes down on top of it. First then that 10mm nut. Snug that guy down. So there we go, there's all 8 plugs. So let's put the brackets back on. So this guy sits right there. this bracket here. This guy goes straight up. There we go. There we go. Put these guys down on. Down on top, like that. Then we're going to take our air intake snorkel. This must be backwards. There we go. That looks a little more correct. I guess I should remember to plug that last coil in, so don't start it up and ruin my cat converters. One last thing, don't forget to reconnect the breather hose. Okay. There we go. It's nice and tight in there. Alright, now it's time to go start it up and give it a try. Let's give it a try. Oh, it runs nice and smooth. It runs really smooth. Usually the stick shakes a bit when it runs. That's a good sign. If I can actually get it into gear. Oh, I got a check engine light on. And that would be because I forgot to reconnect the IAT sensor. Alrighty, forgot to connect this guy. There we go. Alright, let's try that again. Let's try that one more time. There we go. I cleared the DTCs. That was totally my mistake. I don't know why I'm doing up my seatbelt. I'm only backing it out of the garage a little bit. Well, she's running nice and smoothly. revs up real nice. I shouldn't rev it too high because it's a little cold, but yeah. Anyway, that's how we change plugs on my 06 Dodge Dakota. Procedures are identical for a 4.7 Ram and also for a 4.7 Durango. Alright, now I'm 6-speed Dakota, and I'm obviously being video bombed by somebody at the time that wants to be on camera. Check out the Cheech Chong skateboard. It's going on YouTube. Yeah. Anyway, I'm 6-speed Dakota. You can follow me on Facebook at facebook.com/6speed Dakota, Twitter at 6speed Dakota, Google plus 6speed Dakota. And yeah, thanks for watching. Take it easy, everybody.